All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Just as always, giving a few more moments for people to join us. Welcome, welcome. As always, giving more time for people to join us, figure out Zoom. I'll be starting in a minute or two. All right. About 1 more minute for any latecomers. If you have any question during this presentation, post them in any chat, either in Zoom, or if you want them to kind of last longer, you can put it on Pathable. And I will answer them as soon as I see them. I have the Zoom chat then directly here and Pathable right over there. And if you have like any specific question, or you would like kind of to walk together with me about certain issue, raise your hand and I can give you a speaking permission so you can join in and talk to me like I'm talking to you right now. Half a minute and we'll start. Okay, last reminder, feel free to write questions at any time into the chat. I'll try to answer as quickly as possible. This is a big topic, so half an hour will just scratch the surface. If there is interest, we can continue this either at the 3 talk or at some later point. Maybe that will be sometime on my next talk about Accounts 2.0, but we can pick this up. So all right. So I guess let's get started then. Once again, if you have any question, feel free to put them in a chat or raise your hand, in which case I'll give you a speaking permission. But without further ado, hello everybody. My name is Dvořák. I've been with Meteor since 2015. I am a freelance contractor right now, contracting with Meteor software itself. You can find me on social media as a Storyteller or Storyteller CZ. So that's kind of my quick spiel about myself. Literary Universe is a side project, you could say, or a project that I used to kind of test a lot of new stuff that I work on for Meteor or implementing in an actual application. I'm actually going to show you part of the code today or in this presentation as well. So first of all, I'll be talking briefly about I18n or I18n and what that is all about. Then I'll talk briefly about what is FormatJS about, how to set it up on client for React and Blaze. Vue has also some stuff, but I'll get there, and then how to set it on server for Meteor, and some other approaches to this problem. So I18n, short for internationalization. There's also L10n, which is for localization. And in short, it is for showing dates, numbers, and anything else in your local, the way you're kind of used to, and also of course translating your application. So what I mean, when you're used to, for example, a classical problem with date given the format, you always want to, okay, is it day, month, year, or month, day, year, or some other variation thereof? With localization and internationalization together, if you combine it with both language and also you show the formats in the correct way. The same applies, if you're using commas or dots for numbers, and some of the new features are, like, lists and of course dates. Kind of related to that, all of it is FormatJS, which you can find on formatjs.io, and that one builds on top of the ECMAScript internationalization API, which is available in all modern browsers, and it's expanding as well with Unicode, CLDR, and ICU message syntax, which is a syntax for, say, translators, or in which which is primarily, how you format, your language string for translation. So that's what the ICU message syntax is for. The good thing about it is that usually translators are already aware of it, know it. So if you have some professionals that handle this, they could go in and just start translating, and you don't have to worry about anything. So the good thing about FormatJS is that there already are JavaScript libraries and integrations. So one is react-intl, so we have a React integration, and also there's one for Vue as well, and a couple of other older ones. So that kind of gives you the option to kind of have all of that power in where you want to. So for client setup, I've picked up React and Blaze because I'm most familiar with those two. But as I mentioned, there's also a Vue package for FormatJS as well. And it's really, really simple with both with Blaze and React. React is super simple because you have the react-intl package. With Blaze, you need to do some of the setting up yourself. And if we look at the React package, what you kind of get at the top of your application, what you will be setting up is I18n provider, which you import, in which you define the language and anything else that needs to be defined. And then you can use the individual components for formatting, messages, dates, and stuff like that. And with Blaze, as I mentioned, you need to kind of build these components yourself, which is kind of unfortunate. So you set up initializer, and then you can do helpers for templates. But I can probably talk a lot about this, but it's not going to help you if you don't know what the heck I'm talking about. So let me see if I can increase the size to something more readable. Okay. So this is my app.jsx. This is kind of the start where I have my theme container, my browser router, and everything else that needs to be kind of here. And where I put it? And then I have here my, what I call the lang container, which then is also at the top there with everything else. And you can see I have a lot of things going on here. I have, figuring out which locale the user is using. So I'm going to navigator language and trying to figure out what language I should display to the user. And then I set it up and return the one they have polyfills. That's another great benefit of say React or FormatJS. And this one you can actually use pretty much everywhere. And you can see I have here the should polyfill format, and that one actually is imported. So if we go up here, then we have all the should polyfill from the different polyfills. And since it's on client, it's going to do the polyfill if the client does not have the functionality. So for relative formats, that's kind of the 10 days until something, or 10 days ago, or 12 minutes ago counters. So that's also possible very easily with INTL. And this is one thing that you definitely want to do with INTL, because having to do that manually is super painful. And then finally we get here to the INTL provider that then I add the locale, the messages, which are the translations. Here I add my additional currency formats, and just in case default locale if something goes poorly. And with all of that, let's switch to homepage. Let's see. Yeah. So then I have this format message and use INTL hook, and I'll show you why I have used both. So I use INTL to get to the specific function that I want to use, and that's just to return text. So in this case, format message, where I add in the ID, and that is because in Helmet over here, I just need to have a pure text return. While if I go down here, I can use the component itself, and I can actually then define in the settings for react-intl that I want, for example, that text to be encompassed with, for example, a span with specific class or anything else, or you can also return pure text, but obviously that won't work over here. And if I can also with use INTL access other information like locale that is currently set, so I don't have to, like you can see still here kind of backward compatibility to kind of call for my local state. And having this will come in handy say later on the server, but let us switch to how it would look with Blaze. So this is another application I'm building on. This is a Blaze application. So as you can see, first I need to initialize internationalization. And there is a nice, in the documentation, you can see all of that, how to do it. And you'll notice this is going to be very similar how we're going to do it on server. So we initialize INTL here through the message format, create a cage, and we have the initialization. And if we wanted here, then we would set up the kind of resolutions for the translations, as I have here. That's right now not needed. Well, that's all nice and dandy, but how do I actually use it in Blaze? So let's take a look. So what I do is I pass it into a reactive variable. So like here, so when my layout is created, I created this I18n initialization, which means that I can then use it elsewhere as I need to call in it. And for specifically, the best way then to use it is to build helpers. So template.register helper, format date, which is exactly the same name as the function. And then what I do is I18n get, so I get the initialize I18n object, and then I add the format date, which passes in the value and options that are passed from the helper. And the same applies for all the other functions. So you can, in this case, you can also limit it only to those that you are using. All right, so now back quickly to the presentation. So the server setup, as I mentioned, is very similar to the Blaze setup. Again, we need to initialize on server the I18n object, and then we can use that to import it and work with the languages all over the server. The best, I was struggling, kind of with this forever because my client was working just fine with Internationalization, but my emails were all sent only in English, which is not something that I want. So here we go. So here are all my email templates and everything. And you can see I'm using here as on the client, I18n.format message. And that comes from, if we go to the origin. So actually this one is being passed as part of the templating that goes in. So in this case, subject or HTML, again, I18n, get I18n, which in this case initializes the I18n function. Probably could improve that. It's better just to initialize it once and then just passing that variable on this in this file. So that's how you do it. And then through this initialized I18n object, you have the same function that as you would have on the client. And so if you go over here, you can actually already see how this thing works. So let's say 10,000, and if we go into check, you see that there's no comma and stuff like that. In Japanese, there is. We have French, none, and then we have it. So that's one of kind of a couple of the examples. Good. So you see here for React View Ember, and we can then jump here, get started. So here you have all the information about message syntax. One thing to kind of give you, should I say it, kind of hints of some of my mistakes is that I separated the text of many strings. So I had, for example, text and a number related to it. And I had usually the text alone and the number alone, because I was just using the formatted message and then formatted number functions on themselves, but as I was kind of doing Japanese translation, for example, I realized that it no longer works because numbers kind of get put in a different place when doing these things as compared to, say, Latin languages. So, little things like these, then you kind of throw you for a loop, and you need to redo some of your code to accommodate that. So it's always to, if you have things like numbers, start to put it together into your language file, as you can see here. So I can have number in there, and this allows them to translate or to move it to the proper location with the proper formatting. The same thing with date, time, and many others. One thing also to note that with Node 14, you don't have to polyfill ICU on the server, because that's already done for you, because that's been trained to Node. With earlier versions of Node, I think 12, then you have to kind of make sure that you have the capabilities on the server. So that's one more reason to be on the latest Meteor versions. And now it's kind of time for you to start asking your questions. It's only half an hour, so I kind of went super fast. But that means we still have about 9 minutes or so, probably 5, to kind of get your questions sorted and stuff like that. One of the other kind of things that I would like to share is I have, as you can see here, here I have in my app under packages I18n package, and in there I have the different languages. So let's just take a look how a file looks, and you can see here this is variable that gets filled in, and we have actually here a variable that's then formatted as a number. But let's see some more. Yes, some more exciting. So we have also here like formatting for pluralization. So again, that's something that the FormatJS takes care for you. Or you can also like create a new, and it's always something similar. So I pass in variable category, and then I have here to select, and then based on that it fills it out. That gets more interesting if we have that in another language, like here. So in this case, I have to actually then kind of not finish the word, because it depends also on the actual name of what we are, of the category that the ending of the word is going to be. And Japanese and other more interesting languages, or complex languages, can throw this completely in the air with how they are formatted. All right, so we have questions. Let's take a look. So does FormatJS react-intl allow to split translation bundles? And is my example app available somewhere? So for the Blaze application, that one is available, and but right now it's still not ready. But tomorrow I will definitely make it available, because we are also using it to showcase a Superface SDK, which will be tomorrow. So tune in for Superface workshop tomorrow to get the link. Until then, I still have some more coding to do on that. But it's just simple initialization with English, no relay, no selection, and stuff like that. So it's still something in progress. Literal Universe is closer because I have hopes that maybe in the future I'll be able to maybe figure out how to monetize it properly. As for the split translation bundles, I didn't get to it yet. So as you can see over here, I have all of the things kind of separated, and you can what you can do is actually yes it works. It's but again, you have actually multiple ways how to do this. But what you can do is with the container for the react-intl, for example, you can then declare another container. For example, if you use React Router, so if let's see if I can find a nice example. I have too many files here. Yes, imports UI. So I have in the app, you can see I have routes, but I then have things like workshop router main. So in this one, I could add another INTL, what's it called, provider at the top here, and I can then add in here additional files, say for the translation. So I can mix and match them together. It will get a bit tricky if you're using more than one language, because we need to also figure out which language. So we'll have to kind of write a wrapper that's going to figure out, okay, what is the currently selected language, and add those for this particular route, add the translations to there. And okay, with 1 minute to go, let me double check if there are any quick questions. I will like to end this. As you can see here, I have a lot of translations, and that's because this entire INTL package is actually available on GitHub. This one part is open, but it's just the translations, and then couple of other functions I have here in regards to the languages. This here I also have Crowdin, and that's a very nice service for translating, which you can link it with your repository. So sure, keep me logged in. So here I select my Meteor Universe project, and here I see all the languages that are being translated, and other people can also join in. Let me see if we have any new activities. So I have a couple of people coming in, and then what you will see is every time you change something in the main English language, it will detect and put it here, and then so if we go to check, people can come in here, see what has changed, what's approved, and then there is a nice translation editor, so you can see what is the original and how does it work. And if we go to, say, our, let's see, encyclopedia, for example, it has also this nice thing that you can, it can detect if it's, for example, a select, and you can then test how the final string would look with the different options. And it allows this works for more than just FormatJS. It works, I think, pretty much for everything. But then it also, since you have the integration, it also connects, and whenever there's like changes happens to those languages, it does it commits and creates a PR That's also one of the reasons why I have it in another repository, because with so many languages, it can be pretty loud. So it's best to keep it aside. So that's all the time I have. Feel free to jump in to the chill session and pick my brain all about it. It's still an ongoing working process, and I would recommend that you kind of do this or integrate it early on, even if you don't have any other languages. And that's primarily because then it's a separation of concern. You have all the text elsewhere. So if copy editor comes in, you can just give them these files. They can work on them, and you don't have to worry about them going and breaking something in your code. So that's all the time I have. Thank you very much for your attention. And off we go to the next session, I believe. That is if I can find the window.